rock and roll here on the Friday edition of the I Love CVille show. Laura Fonner is here. Aaron McGowan is here. And I think this is going to be as much as some therapy as it could be documenting and papering the trail, telling a story that needs to happen. I am going to sit back and listen to learn and follow the lead of these two superstars on today's show. Scott Aaronworth, the huge foodie, is watching in Virginia Beach. Hello. Johnny Ornalis, the owner of Guadalajara and El Mariachi, has shared and liked the show. Give Laura Fonner some props. Give Aaron some props by sharing the show and mentioning a comment in the feed. And we will relay that comment live on air. On a show that I think is necessary for the future of Charlottesville and a tiny business ecosystem we all run in. There are no secrets in this town. How long have you been in this town before the show starts?
I mean, how long of my whole life?
I don't want to age you. Your whole
years.
life, right?
My birthday is Sunday, so I'll be 39.
39 years. 23 for me. How about you, Aaron?
31.
31 years. Okay, so we got 23, 31, and 39 here on this program. All right, Judah Wickhauer, I am seeing the folks that are excited for the program to start. We can start when you are ready, sir. Good Friday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us live anywhere you get your social media content. We archive the show anywhere you get your content as well. Today's show, I am going to sit back and listen, and I think the show is going to be one that the community needs to hear. In studio today, Laura Fonner, the former owner of Siren Restaurant, former general manager Aaron McGowan in studio as well. What we do today is necessary for documenting the digital trail, and I think that documentation of the digital trail, what we find online and on Google, is important. And it's important for accountability purposes, and it's also important for who you choose to partner with in future endeavors, and I'll leave it at that. Judah Wickhauer is the director. If we could go to the studio camera and then the three-shot, and welcome Laura Fonner and Aaron McGowan to the program. Ladies, you guys are on screen. Yes. Thank you kindly for joining us today.
Yep. Absolutely. Thanks for giving a platform for this.
Absolutely. Right. The show is yours, Laura. I will follow your lead. Where do you want to start?
Okay. I'll start why I'm here. I'm here to tell a story. Charlottesville deserves an explanation of why Siren closed. I deserve to tell my story. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering why I am doing the Jerry Miller show, because it's been really clear that we haven't been best friends.
Yeah.
Right? We don't agree on a lot of things, but there are times in moments in life where people help each other, and he's been nothing but an advocate for what's been going on since the USER, and we all know what that was about. So I chose to come on here today because it's the fastest way to get it up. We've already sat and done a tell-all with CVille, but it'll be 2 weeks before it comes out, obviously, because they need to check it with lawyers and stuff. So it's just my fastest and most accurate way. I didn't come here today to have a complete Hunter Smith bashing. It's like not the kind of person I am. If the story puts it and shines him in a negative light, that's because that is what he's shown himself as. I don't have to sit here and lie about anything or make anything up, because honestly, once you hear everything, right, you'll be like, why would anybody ever make that up? It would make zero sense, and it was even worse living through it. I didn't come here for sympathy, right? This kind of stuff needs to be talked about, because when we push it under the rug, because we know it happens all the time, especially in this town, and it's like smoke and mirrors. If we don't talk about it, how do we make other people aware that it could happen to them, right? It's so unfair. I am the working class, right? I put all of my hard-earned money into this and lost it all, and I'll take blame where I need to take blame, right? Maybe I wasn't loud enough when I started yelling about what was happening. Maybe I didn't fight hard enough, but I sleep at night knowing that I did everything that I could do to keep it open for as long as I could. And Erin, it was a huge, huge part of that. And we wouldn't have made it this far if she hadn't been here, right? Because it sucks to live in misery, but as long as you have like a strong partner to do it with, it's so much more helpful. So I understand why people were upset last night on social media about me coming on the show. I get it, but I mean, I thank you for the platform.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
It's you have a platform, and nobody can deny that.
Thank
right?
you.
As much shit as people want to talk about you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I get it.
I'm still sitting right here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the closing.
Okay, we'll go to like the last 3 weeks. Because
Please.
the story is really, really long, but to understand why I made the decisions, I mean, it just takes the last 3 weeks. So everybody knows I took 100% of the company over from Hunter, right? I knew damn well what I was taking, and I built it, and I made it, and it was mine, and I took it. I knew a whole bunch about what was due, right? He put us in back rent almost $83,000. I knew that, right? I knew that I was going to have to clean that up, right?
Back rent of $83K?
Yeah.
How many?
Granted, they right before we signed, Champion put $20,000 in towards that.
Okay. Still, 63 is a massive nut.
Absolutely.
How many?
They tried to evict us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How
I
many
sat
months
inside
is
and said,
83,000?
me. Enough.
8,
Too
7,
many.
8.
Too many for me to not have gotten a notice.
Right.
I'm a guaranteer on the lease.
Okay.
I did not get a notice. I got a notice the first time it happened, 4 months after we opened, but I'm trying to tell a
Sure,
more recent
yes.
story. So we got a lien put on our business bank account from back taxes that weren't paid obviously from before we took over, right? It emptied out our entire bank account. This is almost 3 weeks ago, right? We tried really, really hard to recover, really hard, because we had just gotten to a point after getting the loan to pay for all of the back rent and then having to have the payment plans for the $23,000 in meals taxes that he never paid, right? And all of these things that we were already making payment plans for and within the vendors, because you can't move forward without paying the people that you need items from. And I have a completely different philosophy of the way that they ran their business of not paying when you get the products, right? So we were already paying for 2 businesses and only income from one was coming in, but we were making it day by day, week by week. If it day by day goes to next week and then the next week is next week, we make it to fall and we're okay again, right? We couldn't quite recover it's the middle of July, right? It's not all that busy. It's not a lot of business, but we are doing okay. Our staff is so loyal, and I've been so transparent this entire time. So they don't feel like they're blindsided by anything, or they don't feel like I don't think of them as a real human being, and I'm going to just fuck them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's not at all who I am. So they were working with us. Our bank worked with us, right? What bank does that, right?
Right.
Yeah, they had like faith in us. So Monday I had to meet with a potential investor or a way to get to investors to try to save it, right? I was going to announce a 1 week break, summer break, so a bunch of restaurants in town are doing it, and I thought I could kind of hide in the shadows and do it, and then try to take that week to get my hands on the funds that were needed to survive, right? But I made it really clear I had nothing, no promises of that this won't happen again, and I have nothing to offer you other than a failing business, right? But failing by not my hands. It was just impossible to recover, right? And so I told myself that I needed to define the difference between passion and reckless. And as soon as I got reckless, I needed to stop, right? Because I don't want to turn into what Hunter did, because my pride got in the way and I couldn't say, it's time to stop, right? So the investor left, and there was hopes of getting what I needed, right? But I kept telling myself one more thing, and then the mail came. And it was a almost $9,000 bill for back taxes of unemployment from 21 22. And that was the nail in the coffin, right? I'm responsible for all those things, right? And I knew that. And I knew that I have to file a lawsuit to get it back. But how? What am I, 213 in the number of lawsuits, right? That doesn't help me today. That doesn't help me tomorrow, not next week, not even in probably 10 years. Do you know what I mean? So I had to make the really, really disgusting decision, but I can't continue to ask people to work for me and not pay them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is not how I run a business. That is not how, and I'm really, really thankful that did the employees the way I did from day one and cared about them because nobody's upset. I gave them the notice I had for closing, right? How irresponsible would I be to sit here 3 weeks from now doing the same thing, knowing I had racked up all of that extra and knew I wasn't going to be able to pay it? You know, I had really no other decision in my head. This is it, because if that's one more thing, what's next and what's next? And I obviously know this sounds like I'm being naive, and I haven't done my due diligence and tried to find out what's missing and what is going to come at me as far as liens and all of the financial issues that he caused. It's almost impossible. There were 5 different accountants the time I worked there, right? There are closed bank accounts. I know you can get back into them. Trust me, guys. I have a lawyer. I have not done any of this alone. I have approved everything I've done, social media-wise, everything with him, and I'm not doing anything wrong because I am not lying, right? I'm telling a story that happened, and I'm telling things that people don't want to talk about, right? This is hard to talk about, right? We had to be smart, right? I get so sidetracked because there's so much I need to talk about.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. What is the, and Aaron, I'll weave you in here in a moment. Sure. What is that you know of today, the total financial exposure because of this financial negligence? It sounds like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
For me personally or for Champion?
For Siren. Say for Siren.
For Siren.
We did a really, really good job and worked very hard to pay off everybody that hadn't been paid when we were given control of the bank account and the accounting stuff. And we did that. We paid almost everybody off. There were still a few vendors that we did not pay off completely. But as a whole, I mean, we started, almost 20, no, probably not that much, maybe 10 grand in debt to like 2 vendors at the time. But they put us on a we agreed to do a payment plan,
sure.
and we did what we had to do. It should have been done in the first place. And so they knew, at least the vendors knew that.
The vendors have always known that, though. I've worked with a bunch of these people for my entire career.
Right.
Right. They put us in a place last summer, where we got cut off from my main source of seafood. Someone I've worked with for 25 years. Absolutely embarrassing, right? And they're like, just vendor hop. I'm like, I'm not a vendor hopper, and these are my friends.
Yeah.
Right. So I went off-site and did an off-site job to make sure that he got paid. Right. I made a promise and I made good on it, and that's why my staff and my vendors will continue to support me throughout this. Right. Like I'm not a sleazebag.
Well,
like
and I think people
I
also
fight for the working class.
Right.
You know.
And they realize it was not you.
Right.
She was never given a chance to succeed or fail.
Yeah,
she wasn't given a chance to see what would happen.
Yeah, at this point,
she failed from the moment
I've finally come to terms with the fact that I didn't stand a chance since day one. You know what I mean? And I'm scrappy, and so she, and we're fighters, and that's how we're open. We were open until we were. You know what I mean? But I never stood a chance. Someone asked me in an interview the other day, two decent questions. It was, what did he take from you, and what did he give you? Right? He took the opportunity for me to figure out if I was going to fail by myself. I'll never know because I failed and it was not in my solo hands, right? What he gave to me was opportunity to see what bankruptcy's like, right? Maybe I'll be able to return the favor one day. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I mean, there's not a lot of positives that came out of it, you know? I had someone close to him, and I'm not going to do the name thing because I'm not here. Like, I'm just here to tell my story. I'm not here to be shit talking all over people in town.
Yeah.
They have to sleep at night with themselves.
Sure.
Right?
A lot of people giving you props. Julian Freeman, we love you. Laura, Mariah Doyle, I was a vendor. Big thanks for your support, you two. And these ladies always made sure I got paid. Yep. Andrew Little saying I love you. Laura, the Siren page. You got Penny Johnson Marshall, Stephanie Keller. You got Racine Allen, Charlotte Runyon. Handful of media outlets watching you on the program right now. 6 states that I can see on the program. The Cheers Virginia page just shared the show. Bo Stockton, who we both know, says thank you for bringing this to light. Laura does not deserve this. She is, simply put, a badass lady. I can't wait to see what she does next. Johnny Ornalis is sharing the show. Put into perspective the sweat equity
this is good. I
yeah.
need to clear this up with you as well.
Please.
In your Facebook post that I'm coming on here, you said I was the sweat equity of the restaurant. I was, but I was also all of the money.
Yeah,
And
right.
there's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
put this in
Like, that is-
perspective.
Yeah.
Like financial that you've put into the restaurant
Yeah.
and effort. I mean, I remember watching you because you have so many skills, and one of the
Thank you.
skills that you have is you understand how to show effort on social media that helps kind of bring the brand to life. So I was watching you tell the story of Siren the brand from start to opening, as well as any advertising agency could ever do it. And this is what I do for a living. Like
Thank
you
you.
did it
Thank
better
you.
than I could have done
Thank
it.
you. So it's a personal, that I go
Exactly.
through my feelings.
Right.
I do life with my feelings.
Right. And you wear your feelings on your sleeve
I do.
like I do. Okay, so she was in there, and I'll pass it to you, when you were launching the business. This is what I'm doing with the floors. This is what I'm doing with the bar.
Yeah.
Put the effort into play,
Yeah.
into perspective.
It's heartbreaking that I'm walking away from it, right? I had to realize that I've spent so much time. I filed for divorce at the same time I signed the lease. I did that to myself. I'm the type of person, amicable divorce. Josh, you're a really nice person and a really good father. I'm not trying to get you in trouble here. Everybody thought he was you, sir. My ex-husband was not you, sir. He's a lovely man. But we were just done being married. I knew what I was getting myself into, right? I'm not naive. I'm a grown-ass woman. My parents helped me renovate that place. We ripped the walls down. We redid all the floors. I learned how to be a carpenter, an electrician, a very poor one, but one. A plumber. I mean, like everything. I did everything. I regrouted all the kitchen floors, and I learned with Clay, my friend Clay from Rapid Repair, how to redo gas lines and put in whole stainless steel walls in kitchens. Like that was my blood, sweat, and tears, and what I needed in that moment in life as my safe space, because I was just leaving my career and then just leaving my husband, right? And I built what I needed to feel safe, right? And Hunter has had the ability to take that away from feeling like a safe spot, right? It's like tainted with lies. Do you know what I mean? I can say lies, but then he'll probably disagree with that, right? And maybe it's not a lie, and maybe he was just so naive about everything and not in control of his company that he didn't realize this was happening, and that makes him an even worse businessman, right? Not one that we should feel sorry for because, he didn't know. It's his fucking job to pay attention, right?
1000%
That is what
agree.
his partner, my partnership with him was. He was 51, I was 49. I did all the money, all the work. I could accept that, knowing that I knew what I was doing. As long as they were doing what they were supposed to do, then we would be fine, and I would suck that up, and it'd be fine. It's a fucking pandemic, right? Who
Right.
opens a restaurant in December during a pandemic? I do, because I know that I have faith in myself, that I know what I'm doing, and he's had the ability he's not taken my faith away or anything like that away, right? I'm beautifully angry right now. There's like this calming sense of rage inside of me that isn't violent, right? But it's clarifying, right? This is why I'm here to talk about this, because it's like so hard for people to talk about failure, right? But if you don't fail, you don't have anything to define success with, right? And I'm not counting this as a failure. I'm counting this as a situation in life where I'm taking a huge, huge lesson from it, right? And it gives me more drive and more motivation to do something even bigger and better next, right? What that is, I don't have any idea. I'm literally just trying to breathe right now because this is all happening in real life, right? We haven't even done our final benefit blowout for the bar yet. Like, it's still stuff that needs to be handled, but I'm just breathing, right? So I don't know next steps. I don't know. I'm not sure. All I know is that I'm about to relive this entire last 2 years over and over and over and over again, not only through legal things, but just in the public, because this is a conversation piece, right? There are so many people in this town that have been screwed so hard, right? It wasn't one business. It was an entire company with entire individual businesses and hundreds of people whose life just got screwed from one person, right? And people continue to ask me, well, what about the accountants, or what about this? First of all, they were not contracted out, right? They were champion employees, which means at the end of the day, Hunter was responsible for what they were doing. If he was putting people into positions that they were not qualified for and not overseeing what was happening, that is his negligence, right? That is what his portion of my partnership was. marketing, accounting, right? All of that stuff. They already had it lined up. And who was I? I'll address this too as well, because I've heard this a few times now. Well, she knew what she was getting into because we all knew who he was. That's an absolute hell no, I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because I spent 17 years out in Duners.
And I'll tell you this,
in Ivy.
Mike Valente says, we're watching you from Duners. Okay, like.
Fantastic.
He says, go, I mean, the comments are
Yeah.
coming in so fast. Go ahead.
But I was out there 17 years. Worked in Ivy, lived in Crozet. I knew everybody's names, but I didn't know shit about people. I stay in my own lane, right? Like, and you know what I mean? I don't know all these people personally. And if nobody talked about it before, right, what was happening, then how am I supposed to know? Nobody warned me when I started. I'm not mad at those people, right? I'm mad that it's taken this long and gotten this far where here I am sitting here just losing everything, right? And having to talk about it because it's something that should have been talked about years ago, right? I understand how terrifying it is to sit and tell stories like this and, oh my gosh, what if I get sued for defamation? If what comes out of my mouth is the worst he's ever heard and he picks me to be sued, great birthday present. Do you know what I mean? I already lost everything, you know? And I'm the one that was over there picking his pieces up of what he did to my business, right? I mean, he was in there maybe 4 times in the entire time the whole place was open, and one in particular was for me to invite him over to yell at him, right? So it wasn't by choice. He did the company so wrong with his negligence that it's unbelievable. I started yelling about it. We opened in December 21, and then I started yelling about it like in March of 22 when we got the first notice that we were $43,000 behind in rent.
90,000 or 90 days later? That's when
No, but I took the lease over in like August or something, and we did the
Okay.
renovation.
Okay.
Right, so there's like a couple months there we were waiting for HVAC, but they were all months that counted at some point.
Right.
Correct? I know, you're trying to do the math on how much my rent is.
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out, so you figured out in March, so essentially 90
Yes.
days after you opened, like had the grand opening of the restaurant.
Yep, I got notified via email, which was what I should have been because I'm a guarantor on the lease.
Right.
Right.
Jesus.
So I started screaming then, right?
Okay.
I started getting very suspicious with things that were going on. Nobody came to pick the mail up. I'd open the mail, right? Be disconnect notifications. We've gotten our power cut off. We got our gas shut off twice. You know what I mean? Like some really significant things. And so I would open up a disconnect letter and immediately call him. And his best advice to me was I would have less problems if I quit opening the mail.
What?
And my response is somebody's got to open the fucking mail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He might be pissed because he might not. I really hope he's watching this, but he might not remember all the dumb shit that he said, but I do.
Yeah.
He said what
Yeah.
about the mail?
Don't
You would
open
have
it.
less problems if you quit opening the mail.
That
But I can't read the mail in the dark. Do you know what I'm saying?
well,
the
no,
power's out. I
but
can't
we
read
gotta
it in the
open
dark.
the mail to pay the bills.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be paying the bills.
Yeah.
Right.
Aaron,
We lost our health insurance at one point. Probably within the first 6 months of being open, I was sitting outside and a nice gentleman came walking up and told me we didn't have our business license.
Yeah.
And so I got on the phone, and within 2 hours we had our business license. That pissed me off, not only because how negligent that was, right, but how it only took 2 fucking hours.
yeah.
Right?
Right.
Right. We got our workers' comp taken away, and it's illegal to continue to be open without having workers' comp insurance. And we had an injured employee in the time that we took, and the reason why we found out that we did not have it is because I needed the workers' comp number for the claim for her. And then I advised her to sue us, right? Because maybe that'd be a wonderful lesson for him to learn, and I'm willing to go down with that. Because I didn't do anything wrong, but I will protect my employee, because she definitely didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And it was not her fault that the company didn't have it, right? I lost my insurance too. Okay. So it's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We
That's
lost.
what he said to you?
Yeah, we've lost a lot, right? A lot of things throughout and this was all during the process of me trying to take over,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not just going to agree to any terms,
Right.
right? I opened the place with my sweat equity and my money in my 2 hands, and I wanted it back how I gave it to him, right? So I was being stubborn, which I should have, because I deserve what I deserve, right? But I didn't, right? I got it back, but it was not that. And then at one point, and this is before he became aware of all of the the money that had been moved out of accounts and this and that, and I don't even know where I'm going. I'm getting so angry. I am. This is like furious to talk about, right? We wanted me to pay him $65,000 to buy him out, and I wasn't comfortable with that,
What?
right?
Before-
But that changed very quickly, right? I'm not going to dwell on that because that was like a first initial meeting about splitting ways. Before I said, well, I'm not going to do anything until we have an accountant really break this down. I have no idea what we owe because you have no idea what we owe. And I'm not willing to do anything until we figure that out.
Because then you would take on that debt yourself, because then you would be the owner of the business.
Right, without any knowledge. And to think about it, if I had done, I have not waited as long as I did, right, and known about the back rent and known about all this other stuff, and all of these been surprises all at once, right? Instead of these last two being the two staggering ones that took me down, right? Like that would have been insane.
Yeah.
Probably would have just stroked out. You know what I mean? That's
So after he said, I want $65K to buy me out,
I
Did
said
it-
I'm going to have to speak with my lawyer.
Right.
And then that was the last of that kind of conversation.
and then I would imagine the conversation
Yeah.
just went to buy me out for $1 for the sake of me getting off some of this exposure.
Right.
Is that a fair read? Buy me
No,
out.
he was going to give it to me.
Okay.
Right.
Because he didn't want
But-
that
but
exposure.
with
You were
all
going
of-
to take on the debt.
But with all of the everything.
Right.
The way that I have it laid out, right, and I'm allowed to talk about this because it's a legal document, and with my lawyers, we discussed everything. He's still on the line for any debt that was created before he signed it over to me, but I have to sue him for it.
Right.
Right? But here I am, like $130,000 into the debt that we knew about, not thinking that there could be much more.
Right.
Right? And we've already been in contact with most of the people that were like debt collectors.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's just amazing, the negligence and the lack of being able to manage your own business. And I've thought a lot about this. He had these businesses way before I became part of Champion. Right? Why would I think that they weren't being run correctly if they'd been around for that long? Right? I would assume I would have seen a red flag or something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, no,
Like
I
it
could even
wasn't-
offer some perspective on that. And people shared a photo where Hunter came on our show.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was in the beginning. That was before COVID.
Yeah.
And before COVID, even going into COVID, even in the middle of COVID, we were all saying, like, this guy's growing the empire. On
Yeah.
paper, it looked like the Midas touch.
Right.
Like nothing could
Right.
go wrong.
Yeah.
What we did
Well,
not.
he had a great lineup of people with great resumes.
Right, and he also had family financing
Yeah.
that was helping the expansion.
Correct.
That family financing has since been cut off, we know of, and then the proverbial house of cards starts to crumble,
Yeah.
which is what's happening here. Let's weave Aaron into the mix.
Yes.
Rachel Pennington is giving you props. Chef Jabari Wallington is watching the show, giving you props. Kennedy Johnson, Wilson Foster, Gabrielle over at Mission Barbecue is watching.
Vision.
Excuse me, Vision
Yeah.
Barbecue. I apologize
Yep.
for that slip. Vision Barbecue is fantastic. It's in the Vinegar Hill Shopping Center. Vision Barbecue is fantastic food. Bill McChesney, Patty Zeller giving you some props. Jenny Burkham giving you props over there. Cynthia Mitchell, Summer Leary. I mean, I can't even get to the comments here. Aaron, anywhere you want to go. The show's here. You got a lot of folks here.
I know it's Laura's story though.
Yeah, but
so
you're a
I'm trying to let her
huge
take
part
the
of it.
lead.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure where to start.
When did you start realizing, seeing that?
So it was July 2022. I had taken a week's vacation, so delightful. Came back to work, and I was either picking up an order of some kind. Anyway, credit card or our debit card was declined. I'm like, that can't be right. How would it be declined? It's not a huge number. Tried it again, didn't work. So went back, made some phone calls, and found out that, oh yeah, by the way, there's not any money in your bank account. And I'm like, my involvement at that time, I really had nothing to do with the accounting stuff. I didn't have anything to do with the bookkeeping. I had access to the bank card and the checks, and told them when we did stuff. There was never a budget, which I thought was a little strange, but not my business. But just knowing the numbers that I knew that there was no reason we should be broke. And then it started with the vendors saying, you know what, we can't work with you anymore because you have to pay first, and we can't, you know. It wasn't all ours. It was Champion as a whole.
Yeah.
It fixed itself a little bit. I won't say it fixed itself. We didn't have as many problems for a little while after that. Like, it seemed to kind of come back up. And then Hunter really wanted out pretty quickly and really thought that Laura was going to just say yes to the $65,000 to buy him out. He moved very quickly to give me access to the bank account and turn everything over to her without any paperwork being done. So he was still a full, person. Well, that gave us, I took over that December 1st, and when we took the bank account over, it was negative $10,000.
Jesus.
Well, they basically we did it up to the beginning of December. We were made aware that we were on our own December 1st.
Yeah.
Bookkeeping, everything on our own, right? So she luckily has accounting background, right? And then so she became the bookkeeper, right? And we went and got an accountant to separate us from them, but 51%, 49 still the entire time, and we just got dropped. Our emails got taken away.
Yeah.
They told us they were taking them, but make sure you save everything you want. But what are you going to
Yeah.
take our emails away if you're still a partner in this, right?
Right.
Right. Like you can't just pretend like it's not here still.
Right.
Right. We didn't agree to anything. We didn't sign anything. We haven't done anything legally, and you're still 51%. Right. And it was 2 days before Christmas, before the accountant let us know that we were that far behind in rent.
Yes.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was perfect, because that's what allowed us to get in and figure out what had happened.
Yeah.
So it was kudos to him for letting me in early.
Yeah, we can't sit here and say that there was, I'm not going to legally say and officially say there was embezzlement, right? I know that has been thrown around a lot.
Well, can I ask this question? Like, what
Go for it.
if Siren is a badass restaurant that serves fantastic food at a good price and is popular and has customers? What was happening to the revenue that
Well,
Siren was
here's the
making?
que- Everybody wants to know. Everybody that's been burned by him, where's the money, right? We have no idea where the money was. What I do know is that they're, in a normal partnership with a restaurant in a restaurant group, right? Each LLC has its own bank account,
Right.
And then the only reasonable other account to transfer money to from mine to theirs is the CHG, right? Not other individual restaurants or other things, right? It is to everyone, every single one, from the coffee shop to the In-N-Out and to other accounts. And there's the record keeping and bookkeeping wasn't well done, right? There wasn't. At one point, I wasn't even allowed to speak to the accountant because he was scared of me. And it was only because I told him he was playing with real people's money, and that if he didn't know how to do his job, he needed to ask someone for help, because it is affecting everybody involved. And it wasn't fair that he got put into that position when he did, because he was not qualified. And honestly, nobody would have been qualified for a job like that, because nobody was transparent about what you were walking into, right? And then you sit you down and here's your shit show and try to decipher anything from that, right? You're not going to find anything. You're just going to look at it and be like, what and who and how and
So
what.
the money from the accounts were going to all the other business accounts as well.
There were transfers in and out, mostly out, unfortunately, but out of Siren's bank account into Paper Canoe, Brasserie, even I think Ice House at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was,
There was one to the coffee shop,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah,
a-
Booze Brew on High Street,
yeah.
Yep.
The tap room.
which he at one time was trying to sell for $1. And why he was trying to sell for $1 was the least exposure. The lease exposure on that business, and minimizing that lease exposure.
Yeah.
Know the owner of that location. So keep going.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
stop.
So, it started kind of discovery on our own, just to like I said, figure out what happened, because it shouldn't have been where it was. Notice the transfers back and forth. When I asked Hunter about it, his first answer was that was the payments for the 51% or whatever Champion Hospitality was supposed to be doing for us that wasn't getting done.
It was the money to pay Champion for
right.
being our partner.
But there were I think one of the transfers in and out was 70 grand. There was, little ones, there were big ones, and then there was a big discrepancy of what went out versus what came back in. And so that's what I was questioning, and mostly what I was questioning. And that was his answer. He was like, I'm not really sure. I think it was, that's what we agreed to. It's about 50 grand. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense when you're a 51% owner. What is happening right now? Found all those. We found, I found some certified checks that he had approved to pay other employees at other restaurants
From Sirens?
from Siren's bank account.
Yeah.
And it says on there per Hunter Smith, And then we start finding out $80,000 in rent. We've got just $20,000 in meals tax that didn't get paid, but we're on a payment plan for that.
With the city?
With the city. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They've been
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
At one point, I emailed Hunter and I'm like, I don't remember at the time what we had just received. It was a bill of some sort, but I emailed him and I said, look, I need to know what else is out there. Like, I keep getting these giant bills that we had no idea existed. Please tell me what else is out there. And he was like, well, I'm not sure. Mail was going to his personal residence. It was going to the Reason tap room.
Yeah.
It was going there. None of the bills were coming to, very few of the bills were coming to Siren. Most of them were going out to all these different places. So, which made it even harder to figure out what we owed So it just,
They didn't officially have a master list of vendors and things like that, like a normal business person would,
Right.
until the shit hit the fan,
Yeah.
right? Because, I mean, how easy would it have been in March or whatever, when the first $43,000 behind the rent it would it have been to be able to go down the list of each vendor and check and see if there were...
Sure.
And I yelled and I yelled and I yelled and I said, that is the first damn thing that we should have done and you should have done as your side, right? If you even if you don't have a list, create one and do it now, right? The negligence in just not doing that or not thinking that would be a beneficial thing to do is just like dumbfounding to me. I don't understand how someone that prides himself on being such an entrepreneur in Charlottesville doesn't know the basics of business, right? He's always thought he was smarter than me, but it turns out that street smarts really adds up way more than whatever he's got, right? Like
Was it intentional? Intentional ignorance or intentionally?
I can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the
Yeah.
question. I mean,
Yeah.
he
can't-
has not accepted any responsibility for any of it.
He sat me down and apologized to me when he wanted to offer me to take the restaurant, right? You guys all knew, I'm like a softie. I'll give everybody a chance, and if they screw me, then there's your chance, right?
Yeah.
80% of the times I get screwed, and here's one of them. But that 20%, like how Charlottesville is reacting to this and wrapping their arms around me and supporting me right now, that 20% makes up for that 80, right? So I walked into that, and that apology, and then my mind was made up that actions speak louder than words, and from that day you need to figure out how to make good. And it just went down instead of going up, right? And so then that apology was null and voided, right? That it meant nothing because his actions didn't speak to what he had just said. But he's sorry that he's affected by it, right? Like we're all affected by it,
yeah.
right? All of us.
Hundreds of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
affected by this. Put in perspective the array of emotions that you've had over the last 48 hours.
Ooh, I just told her this morning, we live together too, so I
Right.
just told her this morning that every day feels different, like different, right? I have so much that needs to happen with this bankruptcy and the closing of a business and cleaning up the actual physical thing and having the last fundraiser for it and whatnot, that I don't even know what to do, right? I made a real nice dinner at home last night with things that people gave us, like with some foraged mushrooms and stuff, right? Only because I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm not used to sitting like this, and there's lawyer advice to take the weekend, right? This will still be here Monday, right? Because I think I need a second to really let it all sit in. I've been everything from full of rage to completely lost, right? Not at all embarrassed, right? I know I can sit here and tell you 100% that I fought to the last day for that place, right? The sympathy, sorry that he had on whatever social media last night, right? The difference between him and I with the failing thing is he laid down and didn't fight to survive. He let it all fall on top of him because it seemed so overwhelming, right? I went down because I fell with it, right? Because I fought for it, because I fighting the good fight, right? I thought that maybe this would be a beautiful story about overcoming.
A redemption story.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is in a way, right? I have to take this with eyes wide open and know that life happens for a reason. And sometimes being the example for something so negative and so that it could affect, affects my entire life, right? I have 3 children, right? Yeah. I have to do it in such a graceful way because then it empowers other people to try to do it the same way. Do you know what I mean? But he just laid down and let it fall on him. He had every opportunity, especially when John Cross came into the picture, to be able to fight to survive, and he chose not to, and John has said that personally.
Tell us about John coming into the picture. Give us the flip book of that.
All right, I know that everybody is upset with him because they don't understand what happened, right? And I watched the show where everybody bashed him, or kind of like about not being able, I'm not speaking to this.
Yeah.
I have my own personal interaction with John Cross.
And explain
Right.
who he is. Yeah.
Well, he's who bought Champion.
Yeah.
Right, he is the angel investor that came from New York that everybody's talking about, right? Tried to take over, wanted the brand, right? He's not a restaurant guy,
Yeah.
right? Very nice person, though. I believe every employee in Champion before John came on, because I got a text message from Hunter one day saying, I think we have a solution for the money aspect to this problem. And I was like, okay, I'll entertain any idea right now.
Sure.
Right? We weren't like head to head yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's an angel investor from New York, right? I would like for you to sit with him. So he came in, and, typical New Yorker, right? I had no problem with it. He was very kind. Said his wife was a big fan of mine from Guys Grocery Games, right? Did a walk through the restaurant, and that was it. And it didn't sit well with me. So I'm like, who is he? He was described to the entire company as $1 million man that was going to come in and save us all. He was going to buy the company and invest in it and fix everything,
Okay.
right? But that didn't sit well with me either. I looked him up because I like Nancy Drew over here. You know what I mean? And found that his last big public investment was for a hemp farm for medical marijuana research. Great. It's probably how those two got together, right? But nothing to do with restaurants of any sort. So I sent him an email at like 6 o'clock one morning, and he lives in another state, and I said, I'd like to sit down with you face to face and ask you a few things.
Sure.
Right? So he drove here in his pajamas. His wife sat in the chair in our dining room with headphones on, and I asked him if he was my 51%. And I asked him if he'd ever done restaurants before, and he said no. And I said, why would you want to start now with this, right? Are you here to save us? Right? I cried for probably 2 hours telling the entire side of the story that he hadn't heard yet. I told him that he was considered the $1 million man, and everybody thought that he was coming in to save everybody. And he had no idea that that's what everybody thought. No clue. He was there to come in and save the brand and do some kind of beer stuff, right? He's made it pretty clear, beer is his focus,
Yeah.
right? He is part of the reason I got out before it all fell. He was an advocate for me, right? You, sir, someone called me a woman scorned. I'm a fucking partner scorned, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a woman or a man. I'm just brave enough and loud enough to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? He yelled at him, right? He's got John Cross has 3 daughters, and the first day we sat down together, he told me that I reminded him about how feisty and scrappy his wife is, and he was so sorry this was happening, right? To good people.
Yeah.
And the more he got to know us, the more he personalized with the actual staff, right? So I can't speak to how it ended up that he couldn't pay them, and I'm not defending that he didn't, right? Because my philosophy with what's happened over there is completely pay my staff,
Yeah.
right? I am defending the fact that at one point when Hunter put us behind so far that we couldn't pay our payroll, he took $3,000 out of his personal bank account and finished it for us.
Yeah.
He got me out of the deal right before the entire empire crumbled.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's done nothing but good things for me, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. And I told him the other week that I was so sorry that he was never even given the opportunity in Charlottesville to do things right and do things how I know he wanted to.
Was he one of the pictures on the
Yes.
Brasserie Saison storefront?
Yeah.
Who?
I don't know who was behind that. Do you know?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Doesn't matter to me. Do you know what I mean? So I can't. I mean, he did me right.
Yeah.
Right. And I can only imagine that in some form or fashion, when you get to a certain level of debt, an amount that you're realizing is owed and how many times you've been lied to, you got to put a stop to something.
So do you think
Right.
even John Cross, this guy who's essentially private equity guy, do you think he was misled?
Bamboozled?
Yeah, okay.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right.
100%, and
Okay.
he's admitted it.
So
And this
he
is
was
where-
misled
this
to the
is where-
point of the debt that was out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is where that he laid down and didn't fight for himself came from, because John helped me because I was fighting for myself. But then he said he was just laying down and he's not even willing to save himself.
Yeah.
Right? But and I'm like, so you're going to do it for him? Right? Like, I just want out. All I want is out, and if this is my form and my means, right? Then he helped me get out right when I did. And I knew what I was taking on. We knew what we were taking on.
Yeah.
Right? She's not like part of the owner or anything, but we were going to work it that way if we'd survived, right?
Yeah.
She's my ride or die, and wherever I go next, she's with me, right? It's like a little duo, a little package.
I like it.
I've got a couple more too.
I like it.
I have a whole staff.
You have some you wanted to jump in with, I could tell? If
And
not?
she distracted me.
Okay, totally get it.
In my beauty.
I totally get it. I'll throw this to you. This is on LinkedIn. Like, people are sharing this with me.
Oh, championship beverages?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He, and
I'll give this to you because I had some, but I did this in the other interview, but I'm not sure it'll come out. I received a message from someone really close to Hunter, and he told me that maybe I needed to think of things in a different perspective. Perhaps I should thank him for getting me into the business. Perhaps I should thank him for negotiating a lease, or Siren might not have been created. Perhaps I should also thank him for getting out when he did, right? I've been in the business before he was a brewer, right? Not as an owner, but as a significant part of the restaurant community, and it's well known, right? He didn't get me into the business. He was not the only person I could have partnered with. It was my unfortunate mistake to have partnered with him, but that was my choice, right?
I mean, you were going to take over Dooners if it wasn't for COVID, right?
Yeah.
In a
Yeah,
lot of ways,
absolutely.
she
Yeah.
would have been the owner of Dooners if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't guarantee that was going to be around on the other side. I couldn't. That's in the middle of nowhere. It's a fine dining institution, right? I know that the local community would support it, but it's real pricey for the rest of us, you know? Yeah, no, he wasn't the only one I could have partnered with. He said the right words because he's a hell of a salesman, right? Thank him for negotiating a lease. Well, you never paid it, right? So thanks for that, right? And then thanks for getting out when you did. He didn't want it. It wasn't his terms,
Yeah.
right? So all of that is just so insane to me that someone would think that I needed to think that way. And I do have a thank you, right? So good. As a thank you, I'd like to offer the first name of his new beer that he's going to brew, and it can be called Dreamcatcher, because it'll taste like everybody's hopes and dreams that he's stolen to get exactly where the fuck he is.
There you go.
That's it, right?
He's-
Probably be very bitter.
He on LinkedIn, and multiple people are sending this to me. He's launching Championship Beverages.
Yep.
President and CEO of Championship Beverages. I'm literally have a dozen people sending me the screenshot of this here.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
No.
No.
Okay.
Because I'm just glad he'll be okay, because I'll figure my shit out,
I
right?
totally get that. Next steps for you, Laura.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I do know, I don't know. I need to clean this mess up first. I'll always be okay. I've always been a survivor. You know what I mean? Like, I beat all the statistics, the teen mom shit, the female chef shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm scrappy. I'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
What's your how old's your oldest daughter?
20.
What's your 20-year-old daughter been saying through this?
Real naughty words. She's pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's seen what I've gone through my whole life.
And the reason I bring up your 20-year-old versus your other, you have 3 kids.
Because
is she's an adult.
Yeah.
She's seen it. She's growing
Yeah.
up in this, right? In restaurants with
Yeah.
you.
She
That's
worked
why I meant.
she worked for him at one point.
Right. That's why I'm
Yeah.
bringing that up.
Yeah, no, she's very upset. You know, I keep saying don't let this jade your opinion on restaurants and this industry, because this isn't what it is, right? This is the ugliest part of it, and the part that needs to be eliminated from this business, because it's soul crushing, right? I'm lucky I'm as strong as I am and as resilient as I am, or I wouldn't be trying to tell my story, right? this gives me the passion to come back better and stronger, but I just want to figure out what that is, right? It's going to be on my terms and like my new chapter. Do you know what I mean? I've gone through like 3 different chapters of myself since the pandemic, and I've loved each and every one of them, and I can't wait to see which one this will be.
What are those
right?
3 chapters?
Losing the career, starting a restaurant, divorce, right, and now losing a business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I probably can't count. Doesn't look good for me.
Is the next chapter in restaurants?
Yeah, I can't do anything else, right? I can, but I don't like it as much. I'm not jaded from this to where I'm not going to continue, right?
Uh-huh.
This just makes me fight harder for the working class, right? Fight harder for all of the restaurant workers because we are who runs it, right? It's not, all these places were under the Champion Hospitality Group, right? But it wasn't that made the space. It was the employees and the people that were in there running it every day that made everything so special about those places, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't their fault that it got ripped away.
Right.
And if this was a unique situation to Hunter and his testament for negligence in running an entire company, I wouldn't be the only one closed. I wouldn't have been the last one closed, right? Like, they'd be open and then I'd be closed.
Right.
Camila Eubanks, Washington, I agree with you. She says you will come back stronger. Laura, you're a phenomenal chef. When you guys see the comments here, the Siren page alone right now is, your supporters are out.
I thank them, all of
Yeah.
them, because they're the reason why I came to tell this story, and they're the reason why I continue to have faith in the restaurant businesses in this town, because we're all good people, albeit we're all different, right? Some people think of restaurant workers as grimy and whatever. We're just scrappy, right? We're used to being poor. We don't need anything much more than that, right?
Right.
Like I agreed to be poor my whole life when I'm like, let's buy a restaurant, but I didn't, I obviously didn't think it'd be like this.
Tell us about the photo with the middle finger
Oh,
salute.
yeah, let's discuss this because it needs to be addressed. If I offended you, I'm sorry you're not as angry as me, right? I have been the bigger person for almost a year now. It is my right and my ability to choose however I want to express my feelings. And if you don't like them, keep scrolling, right? Because I saw all the keyboard warriors. I saw all of them. But granted, a lot of them didn't understand the story, but that's so unprofessional. This whole fucking thing was unprofessional. So if that's what bothers you, then you are thinking about this the wrong way, right? I knew my grandma was going to see that, right? It's nothing. Are you guys surprised? I'm Laura Funner, right? I have my earrings say fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yes, that is exactly what I needed to do. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about anything. I'm not sorry about you, sir. I'll never be sorry about that. I'll say that again in a heartbeat, right? Nobody else is going to call him out and make him think about what he's done. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've given up everything. I've lost everything. I've done, if this fight isn't if my sacrifices with my children and my whole life throughout my year for this kind of business isn't justified by me fighting for myself and the right to be able to fight for the good fight for people, right, that don't feel like, what is it worth, right? If I can't show my kids I can sit here and cry and then come back even stronger the next time and do something even bigger and better because somebody did something to me and I didn't crumble, that's what it's for.
And will that next thing have any partners?
I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This question was sent in by a couple of folks. Put it in perspective when you took over, and the feeling of we're going to take this from the ashes and make it into something special.
Yep.
And then till this week when it was closed down officially. Because that is an array of emotions.
Absolutely. This whole 2 years has been, right? I don't even have the words to explain it, right? I'm going to use this word lightly because I am not personally defeated, but the whole situation is defeated, right? I've realized a long time ago in life, you don't have control of a lot of aspects of your life, right? You fight what you can to control what you can, and your actions are what makes the difference and what makes who you are. When I saw it coming out, I was so ecstatic. You guys saw it. I had my little half-naked Italy picture. Right?
Yeah, I remember that photo.
I meant every ounce of that picture, right? It was so freeing and so relaxing to think, well, shit, I get to figure out if I'm going to fail on my own, right? And then to have things creep in and be like, it's like you're slipping away even though it's still yours, right? It's a horrible feeling. And it is a horrible feeling to have to come to the decision to close the place because of something that you didn't cause but you couldn't control, right? Like if it was up to me, we've done the paperwork. If it was up to us and we hadn't had their interaction in what had happened since we opened, we'd be open still and we'd be okay, right? It was just
I think everyone understands. It was an insurmountable
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
And not only
That's
an
just the hardest
insurmountable
part, you know?
position, but a position that you were again lied to of the level of insurmountableness.
just be transparent and tell me how fucked I am.
Right.
Right. Like,
Because if you had the transparency and realized the position you were in, you would have
Yeah.
made alternative decisions.
absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So was maybe that's the biggest aspect of disingenuous and/or lying was that,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah, even at the end,
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
already falling apart,
Right.
and you're still not being honest about it.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand.
Because
but I'm
that
not
was
that
the
kind of person
opportunity,
either, though. Like,
right?
I'm
That
not
was the
person.
opportunity for
You're wrong.
the conscious self-awareness and the little bird on your shoulder or that voice in our head that says "do good."
Yeah.
That was the time for it to come out and
Right.
say, "Here's completely where we're at."
Yep.
Well, listen, at one point in the last, since Siren opened, we had our, not naming names or even their position, but we had meetings with somebody pretty frequently, and they had confessed that their moral compass was broken because of Champion. That's fucking huge, right? That means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now I wanted to be like me too, but I'm not one doing anything morally wrong, right? I knew what path I was on. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm not like, but I'm not gonna bend over and do something just because everybody's doing it, right? Like I'm not gonna go do things that are against my morals. And I've been very transparent what my morals are this entire time and how I feel about everything. So.
How can we help? I mean, I
don't
mentioned
know.
I want to help, but
We're doing a benefit next Wednesday at the restaurant, which is a cash only. Buy your bar out. I'll be honest why it's cash only. And it's only because I took every last penny that we had out of the account and out of the entire restaurant and divvied it up again with the staff. So I don't have any change to give you, right? So it's like pay what you will,
Yeah.
right? It'll be next Wednesday night. I'm trying to line up people that want to do music for it, but it's buy the bar out.
Yeah.
okay.
That will help my staff, right? Our beautiful microgreen vendor, Erica from Honeysuckle Farm, started a GoFundMe out there for me personally. That I obviously won't keep it all personally, right? It's just not the person that I am. I don't know how to help me. I don't know how to help myself yet, right? I know I'm handling it really well. I got to stay calm, cool, and collected and make smart decisions like I've always done, right? And be really thoughtful about what's next and how to go and move forward, right? I'm just not sure how to help myself because I'm just still like bamboozled about what just happened,
Yeah.
right? And like it's stunning to sit here and be like, whew, and you wake up and you're like, whew, shit, it's still here,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
Well, we help anytime you want. I mentioned the telethon idea. We can do that. I mean, I'll
Right.
just wait for your direction.
Right.
I have seen the GoFundMe that is it Erica Cavanaugh
Yeah.
Yeah.
has done. If you guys find Erica Cavanaugh, I think the GoFundMe link is being shared on the Siren page now by Erica. Please contribute to the GoFundMe. You know, something to put in your crawl or the back of your head. Telethon, if you ever want to do it, we
Yeah.
would happily do it. I think
Yeah,
the
that's
courage.
something we'll discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the courage that you guys have shown to tell the story is important because it educates. At first, it papers the trail, and papering the trail in 2023 is what you find on Google. And then, secondly, it offers an opportunity for people to learn from you. And thirdly, it kind of puts in perspective the business practices that are being utilized by this particular individual, but it's not unique necessarily to this individual.
Right.
These business practices are common in some of restaurants.
Right.
So
Right.
important to emphasize that. What are we missing here? What else needs to be told? What else needs to be covered?
I don't think much. I mean, I've covered what I would like to talk about, right?
Okay.
My explanation and reasoning why my restaurant needed to close. My dealings with my partner, right? Or former partner, I should say. Because I don't really have any, I don't know what's next. I don't. I'll be okay though. I always land on my feet somehow or another.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Anything?
Yeah.
No, I think it's,
Yeah.
I'm with her on that. It's taking the weekend to breathe and then
Yeah.
figuring out what we have to do next. Get that done and then, just take it in steps.
Family, your family, how have they responded?
They're so
Circle the
supportive.
wagons.
My mom hasn't shown up out there yet?
Yeah. Well, she sent me a DM.
Okay.
Yeah, legitimately.
She sent you the picture?
She sent me a DM. Your mom said, and thank you for the support. She is Ruth Ferris is watching the program right now.
my mother.
I can tell that that Ruth loves you fiercely
Yeah.
and forever, like
Yeah.
all moms do.
Yeah.
I mean, have you put the family support in perspective?
Yeah, I mean, from my ex-husband to my brother and some of my children. One of them said, "Why do I care?" These young.
Yeah, that's part of being a teenager,
I was asking
probably,
myself
right?
why he cared as
11.
well. right?
11, yeah, that's 11-year-old.
But no, it's just they're all rallying behind me because they know that I put absolutely everything I had into that place and I created it and it was such a beautiful thing and they know it was not all my doing and it became out of my hands. They're not angry about anything. I had borrowed money from my mother and father to open it. Right? They said that they'd do it all over again.
That's
Right?
amazing.
I'm like, no, 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 no.
I mean, that's because they love
But
you
they
fiercely.
do, and I love them, right?
Yeah.
But I don't ask people for things.
Right.
I don't. I am who I am, and if I don't have it all, I'll get an extra job, or I don't need it,
Right.
right? It just is what it is. I don't expect people to do my life for me, right? I am me, and I'm very capable of doing it myself.
I
Yeah.
think this, and we'll close on this. I don't think this is the last chapter. This is just the middle portion of the novel, and the novel is yet to be written. And this could be the, the denouement, the falling action, the climax. I mean, we're not even at these points yet. The future is incredibly bright for this tandem, for Laura, and whatever you create. And if it's not Siren, I know whatever you do create is going to be badass because that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it from Dumpling. You did it at Siren. You did it at Dooners. You've come on the show previously. You worked at some restaurants on West Main,
Yeah.
right?
Did some- yeah, yeah.
I mean, everywhere you've gone,
Yeah.
you've made badass food that people have responded incredibly well to.
Thank you.
And I know that's going to happen again. And I can't wait to see, and I know the community's echoing this, what you do next.
Yeah. This might be the most beautiful disaster, right? I have no idea what's next, but that's kind of exciting and.
Your
and
life is a hell of a movie script.
It is,
Yes, it
yeah.
is.
Have you
But
thought
if I'm
about
not
that?
scared, then I'm not doing something right. If I'm not nervous about things, and I'm not, so this is kind of an exciting. I thought COVID was a restart, like a re-jump, right, a reboot. This is exactly one too, a much dirtier one, right? Much more to clean up from this one, but it might be the most beautiful disaster and exactly what life was supposed to be for me. I have no
Respect.
idea, and I'm just going to embrace it because what's my other option, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
That's a good way to close. Ladies, thank you very much for joining
Yeah.
us.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Charlottesville.
Yeah, so
Never
thank
having
Charlottesville.
support is not unnoticed and not truly appreciated. I keep fighting the hard fight for all of everybody, right? Because if everybody listens to me, and still don't know why after all these years they do, I can help be the voice because I'll fight the good fight forever.
Well, I
Yeah.
think why they do and respond to you is because you're real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah.
What
you
see is
all the
what you
time.
get. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
her literally every day.
It's
Yeah.
exhausting.
And well, I don't think. I think it's maybe I don't spend as much time around you as others here, but I think it's authentic, and people
Yes.
like authentic.
Yeah. There's no other reason to be anything else.
Yeah, she's authentic. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so many folks are saying they're glad you share the story. Laura Fonner, guys, it is a redemption story waiting to be told, and when it is told, we will support her and rally around her by the tens of thousands.
Absolutely.
We'll close on that note. For Judah Wickower, for Aaron, for Laura, my name is Jerry Miller, and it's the I Love Seville show. Thank you for joining us, and take care.